Got it?
I got it too.
I hope penicillin cures it.
We all got it.
Yay.
Live from the Plutopia News Network. This is the Plutopia Happy Hour, and damn it, we are quite well. We're happy, we're pissed off, we're confused, we're muddled, we're a lot of things, and we're going to tell you all about it. I'm Scoop Sweeney, and that person that I can't point to it. That's Susie Sheeler, and also our foreign correspondent from Taos, New Mexico, Maggie Duvall, and over there in South Austin, wearing the red jersey.
Jersey.
Jersey?
Weighing in at 150 pounds, soaking wet, John Lebkowski.
Just typing into Facebook, I'm saying, watch us or else.
Or else.
Yeah, I mean, right. I'm about done with all these people who don't watch us.
Yeah,
you can imagine it.
You tell them. You know what they're doing? They're censoring you. That's what they're doing.
That's right.
They're canceling you by not listening to what you have to say.
I'm being canceled. And you know, tonight we have a sort of alternative to breaking news. We have fractured news.
Is that like fractured fairy tales?
Pretty much the same. Yes, that's exactly the concept. You got it.
I like that. I like that very much.
So here we are.
We were talking about reading and education for ourselves earlier. And what were you saying was going on with you, Maggie, right now? Are you reading anything interesting?
Oh, I'm reading lots of interesting things. I usually read 900 things at one time. I was actually going to ask John and Scoop, because I'd never read this book, but back in the early 70s, did you read the Book of Daniel by E.L. Doctorow?
I didn't read it, but I was aware of it.
Right.
I read Ragtime.
Right. I think everybody should read the Book of Daniel because it's like, oh my gosh. This retelling of, red diaper babies and McCarthyism and all that. It's like, oh, wow, this is the same thing that's happening now. It just has different clothes.
Oh my God, he was prophetic.
Yeah.
Are you gonna throw a picture of him up there?
Let's see. Well,
what's the name of the book?
It's called The Book of Daniel.
Book of Daniel.
E.L. Doctorow.
Okay.
I once asked Cory Doctorow if he was related to E.L. Doctorow, and he said no, but he was considering writing a book called E.L. Doctorow's Ragtime by Cory Doctorow.
Well, that would keep the attorneys busy anyway.
Right.
That's funny.
Right. So
I'm trying to track that down. There's more than one Book of Daniel, it turns out.
Yeah.
One is more like biblical. Oh,
yeah, actually,
this would actually do
quite literally.
There's a reference here. Here you go.
There we go.
You see?
Yeah.
The Book of Daniel.
There you are. And there is a film called Daniel.
I did not know that. Now
yes, it was directed by Sidney Lumet, it says.
Wow.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
So there you are.
And I believe there's an Elton John song, perhaps.
Yes, Daniel is leaving tonight on a train.
Right. Well,
it's on a plane.
It's incredibly well written. It's brilliant, and I can't put it down. So that's great. I don't read fiction anymore that often, but he weaves in a lot of history, and it's great. And so there's that one, and then the other one, which I'm holding up now, is Turn Your Life into Art. I recommended this to a coworker of ours, Benjamin Bradley, who is working on a future weaving project.
I used to know Benjamin Bradley.
Right, I know. But what's great, I feel a little bit justified because I've tortured my friends in past by saying, you don't understand. You're living in the Bay Area. Scoop would get this, but like you're living in the Bay Area, like late 80s, through the 90s, there was like this incredible foment. There's always foment in that area, but there was this thing that was happening, and everybody, their eyes would start closing and
dilating.
It comes out. They don't
dilating.
They don't. But this first paragraph in this book says, if you didn't live in the San Francisco Bay Area at some point between approximately 1983 and 2015, you missed one of the most extraordinary underground scenes in the history of art and culture. One that was so different, so unique that most cultural observers still have no idea what it was. They didn't understand or didn't even see. But I just kept trying to tell people, like, you don't understand. Like, these happenings that would come together and what was going on. And it was subversive. It was intelligent. You felt like you were connected to something. It led to all these other things, blah, 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 blah.
I think some of those things are still happening out there.
Well, yeah, but there was this flashpoint kind of thing at that time, I think.
Yeah,
like,
I know what you mean. Like, I saw Philip Russell the other day, and he was sitting at a table with some other old activists, and they were just hanging out, the Thorn Dryer Club, and
old hippie activists.
Yeah, and I thought to myself, where are our fucking philosophers and our fucking let's go to the coffee shop, and we're still fighting at age 70?
They're all working for Elon Musk.
Yeah, exactly. They're all working for Elon Musk. So I feel like the slow death of democracy being taken over by fascism is
Yeah, actually, it's being taken over by corporate buyouts, basically, because that's what's happened in the Bay Area. I mean, you can be a nice progressive, radical activist, but you pretty much have to have a income around the high 200,000s.
Well, exactly.
You can afford to live there, and if you commute, you're going to have to commute from like 300 miles away.
Exactly. And so, what are we supposed to do necessarily? I mean, Kirsten Sinema is calling for a national divorce, which in my opinion reads, civil war.
No, that wasn't Kirsten Sinema. That was Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Oh, that was MTG. That's right.
Oh, it was somebody smart.
Oh, never. I'm sorry. I didn't realize someone someone who mattered said it.
Kirsten Sinema is asking for a national sex change.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Big transition. There we go.
God, I don't understand. Do you think that these two, Manchin, I don't know about, but I think he's getting something. But
that's Virginia. Yeah.
Kirsten Sinema was only recently elected. She beat the incumbent, right? And I'm wondering how she won a Democratic seat.
Well, you need to look at her, up close to see. There's got to be some strings. You know how puppets are.
But did she run on Democratic theory?
Well, you have to find out who's pulling those strings, because she's obviously a puppet for someone.
Well, seriously about Kirsten Sinema, I heard what she had to say. She's not completely wrong. She is right that if the filibuster gets changed, it'll be used against Democrats at some point in the future. And that is the concern she expresses, but it's really a question of what your priorities are. Most of the Democrats think it's a high enough priority now to try to fix the voting rights problem that they're willing to make that change. And in fact, they're really not talking about doing away with the thing altogether. They're talking about restoring the filibuster as it actually was, where people have to get up there and talk and talk and talk. And, it's painful and people are less likely to do that, though.
Didn't Ted Cruz just do that?
I think he's still standing up talking somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, like he did green eggs and ham, and went on and on. He successfully filibustered as far as I know.
Yeah, well, back in the day, I used to enjoy listening to the filibuster stuff because, some public radio would carry it. I think C-SPAN would carry that stuff. Right. But basically, the whole thing with the filibuster, it's like, do you want to die today or do you want to die in 5 years? That's the kind of choice they're giving you.
You see what our problem is that we are so close. We have half the people feeling one way and half the people feeling the other way. So at this kind of 50-50 split, it's hard to get anything done, Mm-hmm. So if there was dominance by either Democrats or Republicans, stuff would be happening. But if it's dominance by Republicans, the stuff that would be happening might be like dismantling the whole concept of government in the US or something. I mean, I'm not really sure I understand what those people want. They don't really talk about what they want anymore. They're completely immersed in culture war, and they have no strategy. They have no platform. And that's very disturbing. I mean, I try to be apolitical myself. I think they're all sort of like puppets on a string. And some are better puppets than others. But, what's happened with the Republican Party is kind of sinister. It's kind of a scary thing. And it makes somebody like me, however apolitical I may think I can be, I really can't be at a time like this because it's kind of an emergency.
Exactly. You have to take you can't not say something at this point. I feel like it's this I feel less like the 1984 and more like Animal Farm at this point too. I feel like if you look when you observe the Republican Party, they are clearly saying we are one of you, right? But some of us are more equal than others.
Well, I've been a political junkie for a long time, and we've always had the back and forth between the parties, and somebody's in power for a while and somebody's in power another while, but it didn't get really, really ugly until cable news came along, and particularly Fox News. But the other guys are also just as guilty of concentrating on whatever the buzzword is for the day instead of having so-called balanced news. But when Fox News hit, politics went into the toilet because people who believed the way Fox News believed really jumped on board and started following along with whatever crazy shit that the Fox News hosts would throw at them.
Well, so if go ahead, John.
I was just gonna say, I think it was earlier than that. I think it was first the fairness doctrine going away, and then as a follow-up to that, Rush Limbaugh crawling out of whatever catacombs he came from and finding a microphone.
Yeah. Rush, took over, basically AM radio. But when it got onto the tube, that's when it really accelerated. Rush was definitely the accelerator, that got it all going. But when it hit TV, everyone was watching TV. A lot of it. I'm a throwback. I still listen to AM radio if I can find something that doesn't make me sick. But very few people do these days. They watch the tube.
Well, and I remember babbling about this when Limbaugh was just everywhere. When he started, like you heard about him all the time, and people started quoting him and all that. And I was thinking about it. I'm like, why are he's promoting the cult of victimhood. The whole thing about it's everybody else's fault. Like whatever happened, if we're gonna go like all rah America, what happened to the whole idea of like, where'd that up by your bootstraps go? Ingenuity, the pioneer spirit. Why is it everybody's fault? And the
racism that he spewed,
oh my God,
was just, I mean, the misogyny, it was just painful. And my parents listened to it, and these are two, they just think he's funny and I thought he was funny, and I just was like, I do not hear anything funny about him. The only thing that I liked about that show totally turned me off, which to the song, which was Ohio by
the
Pretenders, and who I love, but and she was asked, why would you let your song be played for Rush Limbaugh? And she said, my parents liked the show and he wanted to do it. And I was like, whatever. And I was just.
Yep.
Wow.
So
Well, you know, they've got this thing. This is something I learned about a long time ago. I had a cousin who was, you know, a diehard Republican, and the kinds of things that you see now on social media, they were circulating by email for years. And before email, they were like making little booklets or whatever and handing it to each other. This stuff's been going on for a long time.
Right.
But the point he made, he sent one thing around that was like clearly a bunch of bullshit. I can't remember what it was, but I questioned him on it. I said, you know, this is wrong, right? I mean, this is totally wrong. And he said, oh, yeah, we know that. So we just, you know, I mean, basically it's like owning the libs. They know that the shit they're saying isn't true or isn't real.
They get a reaction.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's just, you know, you talk about having a culture war. It's just a manifestation of their culture, their cultural position.
It's like the bully.
But I have a suggestion, and then I'll shut up.
All right.
I think that we should put the women in charge.
Oh, I'm good with that. I'm all good with that.
I absolutely feel, and you know, obviously, I'm not talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene or Kristen Sinema, but generally speaking, I think we'd be a lot better off if we had a lot more women in positions of real power.
Well, let me share something with you. And, you know, I've in the interview and everything, I've been volunteering with La Coalición de Touts, right? It's 95% organized by women. I'd say 75% are elder women. And recently, a gentleman, it all formed organically. It's all very distributed network, which I've been aching for. You know, nobody needs to like check with this person or whatever, somebody being in charge. It's like really incredible. Things get done. And then recently there was a gent that was volunteering, and I noticed, you know, he's a great guy and everything, but I noticed he was always about wanting it to do it his way. I know what, you know, this needs to be done, blah, blah. It's like,
oh, that sounds familiar.
Right. You know, like, even though, like, you know, it's people that did like PR, like in the 1970s, thinking that it still applies today kind of thing, you know, and you're trying to gently.
I like orange and avocado green.
Right. And you're trying to gently go, well, you know, I know, you know, you do your job well. It's great. You know, having to coddle somebody as you're trying to get things done, and all the time and energy that wastes and hemorrhage. Well, it all kind of worked out because I think he got tweaked by the fact that he wasn't being accorded, you know, this respect or whatever.
No respect. That's the big deal.
Right. So he just self-selected out. You know, he just said, I can't do this. I don't have time for this. Like, okay, you know, you go, and truly, but it's just been really amazing to watch, because it's just a different way of being. And again, so much gets done, you know, and there's this young man who's volunteering on the group, and he's just like, you let me know what you need. He gets it done. Right. And then, you know, everybody's just working together really well. And it's like, wow, this is really weird. This is like a committee with no head.
Yeah. And it's like you don't have to, there's no reason to compete.
Right.
You know,
right.
Even the ingrained, conditioned, you've got to compete for this man's attention. You don't, it's not even conscious.
Right.
We were just, it's ingrained.
Right.
I have to cast my vote for female leaders, because I've been involved in, you know, over the last however many years I've been around, I've been involved in a lot of really great projects and companies. And I can look at the ones that were successful were the ones that were managed and led by women. And I didn't hate those jobs, but when I was, you know, put into a position of having some type A man who knew it all running things, and it was unsuccessful. It was it was painful to be there. But when I worked for women, I'm not sure what the secret ingredient is, mainly perhaps the fact that they weren't driven by a big gallon of testosterone.
Well, it always depends though, because I kind of in a nod to what Susie's talking about. I'd worked in 100 million years ago, and I was still in the corporate world. I'd work with women, and there was that kind of thing of the getting the men's attention. That's when I was younger, and it was really frustrating. It's like, look, I'm not out to get your man or your job. Like, I could give a rat's ass. Could we just get this done?
Every woman you met was a potential competition for whatever was there. And that was patriarchy right there. And if I mean, you remember, sometimes you can even see them now, the magazines at the checkouts have 15 ways to make sure he won't leave you. There's a man shortage. Please him so that you're not alone at Valentine's Day. Fuck you. Why doesn't he have a magazine trying to please my ass?
Yeah, it does get tiresome. I that's why it's so great seeing Teen Vogue now, when they have these in-depth investigative journalism articles, right? Instead of like, the best blusher to wear to prom, or oh my God, give me something of substance, for God's sake.
Well, Maggie,
they've done it.
Maggie,
all that kind of socialized gender stuff is kind of weird.
Yeah. Maggie, you worked in tech in the Bay Area back in the day, as I did. And I'm sure you remember all those early days, all the leaders, big quotes there, were all these, high testosterone, type A personality men, and working around those people was just grueling. Trying to talk logic and reason with them is like, no, that's not in my business plan here. We won't be talking about that today.
Right. And I back at that time, I was in my heyday, my modeling days, let's put it that way. And so I got the kind of pat on the head crap. I got the little Missy stuff.
Why don't you make some coffee, Gerald?
Yeah, it was great fun. And but I think I've told the story before, but it was amusing when I got that great job at Exemplar Logic, being able to I worked with our Japanese distributors, and when our Japanese reps would come to visit, I was allowed to kick the CEO of the company under the table when he'd start yelling at the Japanese, because he thought they'd understand what he was saying better if he yelled really loud. It was really fun. It's just the stupidity. And it at that time, like, we'd go to the design automation conference, and like, I was one of only a few women, and a lot of the women at the conferences were the showgirls draped over the computers. And in early, like, when I first moved to Austin to going to South by, that first year I went to one of the unconference things or whatever, there were the busty babes with the jello shots and all that shit. And that's kind of part of what we tied into Plutopia, is like, not booze and schmooze, because I was so sick of that shit. Like, let's do something instead of entertaining the tech bros,
Well,
I could go on and on.
We did do the booze at one of our.
Well, but you know what I mean. Like,
if there were no scantily clad anythings, it was just a bunch of hipsters in trendy clothes drinking Jello shots or whatever.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't having the parading gals for the male gaze kind of stuff. That it was horrific. It was really fucking horrible in the early days, I have to say. What was I thinking? I could have been something. I don't know.
A contender.
That's right.
You could have been a contender.
Well, the technology, promotion used to always have a big, like for IBM or one of the big mainframe developers, they'd have a big ass, computer, and they'd have some busty blonde in a short skirt, programming. It's like,
That's right.
what are you talking about?
That's right. That's
yeah,
right.
sex sells mainframes. No.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Those were fun times. But I recently posted this on, I just found this the other day too. Can you see this?
Oh
Yeah, very nice. Very impressive.
I got my certification to sell compact computers in 19.
Hey, you probably got some of my money because I bought a bunch of that crap.
I nearly went to work for Compaq one time.
Really?
They were based in San Antonio.
Yeah.
I remember going down there. I went to an interview, and in the middle of the interview, the guy asked me who the prime minister of France was or something like that. And I knew the answer, which impressed him. And that seemed to be more important to him. I mean, the fact that I didn't know anything about computers at that particular time didn't seem to be an issue.
Right. Well, when I got this certification, that's when I was working for CompuCom Systems in their satellite office in San Leandro, California, Scoop. And
you did get some of my money then.
That's right.
I was a customer. How come you didn't give me a discount?
Okay, yeah, and it was through CompuCom that I visited Texas for the first time. We came for because CompuCom was based in Dallas, and came for some little conference, and I was like, wow, Texas is different. Weird. But yeah, it was interesting.
In all the different places.
Yeah,
I mean, you could tell.
That's when I noticed how tall the women were in Texas. I mean, it's weird. Like, if you'd never been to Texas before, and you've been the tallest woman in any social situation, and then you go and the Texas women are like 6 to 8 feet tall. It's amazing.
Well, sports are big in Texas, so they grow them big.
That's right.
It's not just the males that they're growing big. They want those tall female basketball players and volleyball players.
That's right.
Well, Texas has changed a lot since then. That's for sure.
Yeah, talking about Texas, how about that Sid Miller character that was selling all the hemp licenses? His main man got busted.
Well, yeah, that was politically motivated.
Oh, of course.
Obviously.
Donald Trump will be by to make it all right, or not. But that's just a characterization of what Texas politics is, our Texas government is all about. This guy's going around talking to people that want to invest in having a hemp farm, which is, in my view, a very great thing. I mean, not to get you high, but because it makes great products that aren't going to destroy the climate and destroy the earth.
And it's a great cover crops.
Yeah, and this guy is kind of Sid Miller's the director of the Department of Agriculture.
That's what I thought. So yeah,
and
you've seen this guy, right?
Oh yeah. He's cute. He looks Republican. I mean, come on. If we're going to be stereotyping, that's the Republican look. And he was going to all these investors saying, well, if you want to get a hemp farm license, you're going to have to invest at least $150,000. It only costs $359 to get the license.
Wow.
But he took a lot of kickbacks, and now Sid all of a sudden said, well, we've distanced him from my campaign, which he was running until he got busted.
Well, actually, what Sid Miller said, but I've got the quote here. It says, it happens every election. They know they're not going to get you on anything, but the process is the penalty. All they need is a headline. Sid Miller's political consultant under investigation for selling hemp licenses. Well, they brought him in for questioning. They said, okay, this was 8 months ago. They said, we're not filing charges and we're not indicting you. So end of the story, folks, move on. But they got the headlines. So they bring up that old crap.
Yeah.
But then an indictment came.
Are any of them even remotely capable of not being corrupt as shit? I mean, are they all, could there just be any integrity in any Politico at all? I mean, I just...
Well, I mean,
Well,
there's
depends.
so much ego involved.
I know.
I mean, to even run for a representative,
Right.
you have to have a certain amount of ego.
Right. That's the thing. And then it it's so easy to get corrupted. And it's like the old story. I always hope for somebody like a champion who transcends that shit,
Mr. Deeds.
Yeah.
But you can't,
Mr. Deeds. But you know what happens is somebody like that comes in and they see what it's really like. They walk into the place, and it's sort of like, if you've seen this thing on Netflix, Maid. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Well, you remember the bathroom that she has to clean in like the second episode? Well, that's what politics is like, right?
Oh, yeah.
And people come in and they think, like she thought, oh, I'm just going to clean this place. And then she gets there and she finds out how incredibly filthy the place is. And it's like, shit, I'm not going to do this. I quit. Except she didn't quit. She did pretty good. She would make a good politician.
Well, watching Texas politics is the equivalent of watching a really
blood sport
bad soap opera on TV. It's the same thing. It's just over and over. We're going to go after the incumbent because he doesn't believe like me. I'm just loving the people that are going to be challenging Abbott and Paxton.
Isn't Paxton in trouble again?
He's always in trouble.
But there's a new thing now that he's done that they may indict him for, and I think it's this voter rights thing and the gerrymandering.
Well, the whole thing.
Well, that would be good.
The people running against Abbott are the typical male, thing of they're basically measuring dicks.
Right.
My dick's bigger than your dick. My dick's more Republican than your dick. It's like, oh, come on, people.
And they probably smack each other's butts with a towel in the locker room. Sorry.
Yeah. That's good time. That's a good time. Locker room talk.
God.
Oh, it's just gross.
Well, I just wanted to. One thing that, you were talking about the puppet on the string thing. I've been wondering, because there's supposedly a candidate here in Taos, a woman who is being promoted as, this progressive woman, but it's coming out that she's in the pay of one of the Republican developers. And I'm wondering how much they're going to start pulling that kind of crap.
Is she running as a Dem?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a Kirsten Sinema situation.
Yeah, that's what I was like, oh, that sounds kind of familiar.
Yeah, that's going to start happening all over the place. I really think also that 2022 is going to be a very telling election. And whatever happens there, especially if they get all three, it's a done deal. I really think so. And it breaks my heart, but I just think that's the end of it.
Well, the whole deal with developers, that's one of the true evil empires. You've got, Darth Vader and the Emperor. You want to look for the evil empire, look to the developers. I mean, look at what they've done. San Francisco is a write-off. I have so many friends there. It's like they're desperately looking for somewhere else to go. They're ending up in the Sierras or in Texas. And it's happening in Austin. It's like, we have all these great places. Like, no, that's a high rise now. You can't go there anymore.
Right. And then the other thing that's really upsetting me, I was really upset reading something today with some guy was just posting like somebody might do on a local list saying, hey, the city's freaking me out. I'm wanting to move to Taos, looking for blah, blah, just asking. And he got so freaking piled on it. And what was interesting, no more people here. But every one of the people piling on this guy were white people who aren't native to here. And then it was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, people who came from elsewhere. That's what happened in Austin.
Yep.
Right. And they're yelling at the people. The whole country is shifting. Everybody's moving. I haven't seen anybody bringing up the real estate speculators and these hedge funds that have bought up all this property across the country and are flipping it. It's not the fault of the people moving in. It's these speculators, and
they're sliding right back into the subprime loans.
Exactly. And nobody's bringing, I've tried to bring that up over and over again in discussions and all that. And I just get, people just ignore it. I'm like, why are you not interested in talking about this?
That part's boring.
Yeah. These are the NIMBYs, the not in my backyard crowd.
Right. And it's also, I think it's also people like don't want to think about what's in their stock portfolios. Mm-hmm. This is, people need to look at their freaking funds and see what their funds are speculating in. Because this is, I think there's something to do, like, well, I got mine, so screw the rest of you,
A lot of people get tunnel vision when they look at their investments. Like, right. Oh, well, I'm invested in this dictatorship. It may be a bunch of money. We'll move on.
Right. And what's really telling about this whole thing is that there are only a certain amount of people who are able to think about stocks and investments. Right. I mean, there are people who would just be like, I don't know even how to purchase a stock. Can you buy a stock? People just don't know.
Right.
And one of the sad things I think is when they do get a job that's a decent job, and that will pay them some 401k money, which ain't much. They don't know what to do with it. So they just say, okay, HR person, I'm going to trust you to do this for me.
Right.
And, you don't know what you're doing. You can't manage your own money. So you just ask to get, and they're not even a professional. They're just HR people.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, if you want to clean up the stock market, we need to bring back the concept of actual stocks. The deal that was made out of wood and you put your arms and your head in it. Because you were a bad person, you had to
that shit is coming.
Right.
I guarantee you, debtor's prison is coming. It's not far away. I mean, what
and the workhouses?
No, yeah. Well, what better way to get us under control?
Workhouses
all got debt.
Yeah, Amazon has got the workhouses market already covered.
Yeah. Well, it's a capitalism is a problem, but it's firmly ingrained, and we can imagine that there are better ways to live, and that things could have been done differently. I mean, what if we had never come up with the concept of private property ever? So things could be really different, but changing those things now is really hard. It's sort of like with climate change. We all know that climate change is a problem. It's a terrible thing, and that we shouldn't be spewing carbon into the environment. But how do we extricate ourselves from that?
Right.
I mean, how do we stop? How do you stop? How do you stop driving your car? How do you really tone down, meaningfully change your environmental footprint? It's really hard. And the austerity that would be required, most people aren't up for.
Right.
But if we had trains and public transportation and we started bringing our kids up like that, then it would only be like 2 generations before we were fine with it. And we didn't have as many cars as we do. I mean, I don't understand. Why is that so fucking difficult?
Well, it's difficult because there are really deeply invested economic interests there. And it's really true that if you shifted the economy like that it would be damaging to a lot of people, not just rich people. I mean, a lot of people would be damaged by that kind of shift. So it's hard to figure out how to make that shift. And one of the things we see is this very, very gradual move to things like hybrids and electric cars and that kind of. I mean, there's an attempt to try to stop the burn, stop the spew.
Yes,
but it can't move very fast. And meanwhile, the atmosphere is filling with carbon, and we're really kind of past the point of no return on that one.
Well, there's a very famous shift that occurred back, I guess probably in the 1950s, perhaps. You remember streetcars, John?
Oh yeah, there was one called Desire, wasn't there?
I do remember that one.
They were all over in Los Angeles. They had the rental cars.
We had the Dillo.
And all of a sudden, they all disappeared because the big auto manufacturers decided to invest in those companies. And of course, the first thing they did was shut them
Wipe them out.
Right.
And you end up with all these diesel powered buses. And, I followed that for a long time. Yeah, I did. I was part of a research group at Pacifica Radio that we studied that whole concept, and it was just diabolical. I mean, they saw all that public transportation as evil. It was a communist plot, to undermine the fossil fuel industry and the automotive industry, and they took care of them. I mean, those things disappeared quickly.
Well, just like there was an article in, I believe it was last month's Atlantic about there's that fund that's bought up all the newspapers across the country and fired everybody, right? And then had like three
that
people.
That continues.
Right. It's like, but I think too that, it's interesting to me. I think it's going to be really difficult too, to underscore what you're saying, John, when we're so enculturated. It's been amazing with the Great Resignation, because it in a way, it's been a gift where people have seen like, oh my God, what the hell am I doing? Why am I working in this shitty fucking job?
Yeah.
Why am I doing this? And so that being able to take that pause, when you're just in the tunnel vision every day, and being able to step back and go like, why do I have to do it this way? Like,
well, it's people were forced by COVID to stay home, and they realize, hey, I kind of like staying home.
Exactly.
Well, it's not just that. I think that it's also, I don't just like staying home. Why am I going to go back to a job I fucking hate that pays me not even a living wage? Right. Why would I do that when I've got time right now? And it's not incentivizing me to stay home. It's incentivizing me to find something I want to do and will make me not hate my fucking life.
Yeah, theoretically, these people are really finding other things to do, and just choosing not to go back to their shit jobs.
I have several friends who have taken this time, like they feel like they've been given this incredible gift to be able to step back and really look at what they want to do and explore their art, their passions, their whatever, and they don't want to let it go now. So it's kind of like there's something powerful in that mind shift that is so subversive. It's like when I've taught writing classes before or art classes before, and it's amazing how difficult it is for a number of people to be able to let go of their preconceived notions about how they see the world or whatever. Just a lot of people cannot daydream. They can't vision. They can, but they don't know how. That floored me when I discovered that the first time. I was like, what are you talking about? You don't daydream? Like what? Because probably they're beaten to death or something.
What did you do in school? Right? I'm like, that's all I did. I was like, oh, did you call my name?
Right. But there's so many people that haven't, because they were so conditioned. Maybe they didn't have, supportive parents, or, just their circumstances. They were on the conveyor belt from the get-go. And so they, I just feel the compassion toward that. Like, oh my God. And when people have that moment, that's kind of what this book is talking about a lot, is bringing those extraordinary moments of presence to people through, meeting them where they are and allowing them to go like, oh my God, like there's this incredible world out there that's not this hell I'm living in. So that's what I've been thinking about a lot. Like, how do we foster that more? Like, helping people see that there's other ways.
Well,
Yeah, I was really lucky. I most of my life, I was doing anything I was doing it because I really wanted to do it, not just to make a buck, but because I was really into it to some extent.
Yeah.
And one of the downsides of that is that it's harder to make money that way, because to really make a lot of money, you don't devote yourself to doing things that you think are cool. You devote yourself to doing things that you think will pay off.
Right.
And if you do what you think is cool, you may accidentally make money. Speaking of which, Maggie, I have a question for you. You mentioned that company that was buying up all the news organizations. Can you track them down and let them know that Plutopia News Network is for sale for like $1 million?
I mean, easy.
No, John, it's 2 million, because I'm kidding. I want to be a greedy robber baron like all those other guys.
I think that's a good idea.
You were talking about the Great Resignation, and I read a great article in Medium by this guy who quit his job and decided to study bartending here in the Bay Area, here in the Central Texas, and he wrote about the experience of becoming a bartender. And from what he didn't say it, but what it sounded like was from Alamo Drafthouse about at the movies, and the entire kitchen staff ended up quitting just because the management was saying, well, no, you can't get a day off. No, you can't get any health care. No, you
I have so many stories about that fucking place.
Yeah, and
that place should have been shut down so long ago.
And that's not it's not just that place. That's one of the poster children for that. But there are plenty of them out there, and people at some point finally have realized I was getting screwed, and I could either stay here and get screwed some more, or I could go to one of these jobs that's paying a little better and it's treating their people a little better. And when you get offered a little better, you go for it.
Yeah, especially when you're one of the
to misery.
Well, I mean, the background of that stuff is that people know Tim League doesn't care. People know who he is. He allowed sexual harassment to go on. He allowed groping to go on. He actually told everyone he fired that guy who was doing the film festival, who put together the film festival every year, and then rehired him on the sly, thinking nobody would know.
That's right.
I mean, it just goes on and on. I'm so. In fact, I got Co-op to sever ties with them because of this. I went on a kind of a campaign, and I got a lot of support from the women at Co-op, and they severed their ties with them.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people out there that are running their businesses saying, "Well, we're cool. Look at the coolness quotient that we have. We're misogynist, and we grope our employees, and we don't pay shit, but we're cool.
We'll give you a fruit basket at Christmas.
Ooh, we'll make you cereal so you can come in and have breakfast cartoon. I mean, it was fun, and it could have gotten cooler, but." And that's the thing again. It's this power thing. It's not money. You can give someone so much money, and the fact is, they're driving down the street, and a cop pulls them over who makes a quarter of what they just made that month. Who has the power? That cop has the power. It doesn't matter who's wealthy in this situation. Power is just so much more desirable.
Well, the whole coolness thing is fine until you get frostbite, and then it's not so cool.
Then you have to get treatment.
Can I get some power?
Sure. Take two butter knives, stick them in the light socket. You'll get all the power you need.
Oh my God! Today I was thinking about those antennas on the cars. You remember those? Just the antenna,
right?
Just be going back and
the big long one that would kind of wave around, and that would get pulled off when you washed your car.
Right.
Yes, yeah. You're like, oh, I can't take my car through there because of this one piece of weird metal that's sticking up.
And now they put a shark fin on your car instead.
Yeah.
You look like you're like Jaws.
Well, I have
driving around in Jaws.
I have a mutant vehicle. It both has the shark fin and the whip.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
oh man, I would love
You
to
must get
find one
great
of those.
reception.
No, suck.
That's right. Hey, just so y'all know, I put in the chat that article in the Atlantic about the
Oh, thank you.
global fund buying out all the newspapers. So read it at your leisure, or is it leisure? Leisure.
No, we're gonna approach him.
Okay.
My gosh.
Why not? How is it going to hurt anybody?
I don't know. I was kind of impressed today. I was looking at our YouTube channel and I started scrolling down through all the things that are on there.
Huh?
We've done a lot of shit. There's a lot in there.
Yeah, we have some cool people there.
Yeah. And then there's us.
And then I thought that's what you meant.
That's great.
We're serving as an example of what you don't want your children to go up to.
Right.
I'm an example to others.
But that's it. I'm
So
not.
I was sharing with you all earlier, but I just, it sort of blew my mind today that 13 years ago at this night, I was in Washington, D.C. at Obama's first inauguration. And I was at an inaugural ball at the Corcoran Art Gallery and having a blast and just blown away about with how jubilant people were in the streets. I had sent a text earlier saying that after we'd seen the inauguration, we took a limo. I was with the National Women's Political Caucus, and we took a limo to the Corcoran, and the driver had to stop the limo because he couldn't get through the crowds. It was just throngs of people. Just thinking about that now, it was definitely not Trump's inaugural. Anyway, and it was so cool because we all are in our ball gowns and we're walking down the street, and like you couldn't go a couple of feet without getting a huge hug from somebody. I mean, people were crying, they were laughing, they were yelling. It was incredible. And I was just thinking of that euphoria of like, oh, maybe there's hope.
And then the throat punch of Hillary.
Here we are this morning.
Yeah, I had a similar experience of just in the Clinton campaign. Yeah, we thought we thought that was going to be something great. But,
my mom keeps asking me, "Are y'all going to run Hillary?" And I'm like,
"Give it
what? What in God's name are you talking about? No, we're not going to run fucking Hillary.
Please God, no.
Poison."
But back when Clinton was running for his first attempt at for president, my business partner and I at the time did production for the MTV Rock the Vote show in the Arco Arena in California. It's a big deal,
Right.
and it just seemed like that we're going to all be saved because all these young people were just going nuts, and there were Clinton people out there handing out stuff, and it was supposed to be the new age. Well, I mean it was newish for a while, and then
that's right.
Now it's still the same. There's still rallies going on where he's saying the same shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Who's that?
He who shall not be named.
You talking about Darnold Trump?
Yeah. I'm talking about girth, wind, and
think about it though. That guy is probably 24/7 terrified. Just terrified.
Right.
I mean,
I bet his kids are.
He knows. I mean, he's got to know that sooner or later he's going to find himself behind bars unless he can get himself elected president again.
Right.
And there's a lot of people who don't want him elected president, including a lot of people who say that they do want him to be their president, or they kind of go along with him right now, but really they're going to block him. They're not.
I don't know. I'm going to say that in 2022, they are going to control both House and Senate, and they will drop all of this, and then they will take the presidency, and they will, I mean, it'll be dropped. They will just know, they will not investigate. They will abolish the commission.
Well,
All
what they say they're going to
over.
do is they're going to make Trump the Speaker of the House.
Yes, I love that.
So
story
he'll just,
too.
he'll just do that, and he won't want to be president anymore.
What happened? I thought that he was going to be president with JFK Jr. or vice president.
Okay. Where is Lee Harvey Oswald Jr.?
I don't know. I think that we should not try to make too many assumptions about what's going to happen, because there's so many unknowns right now. It's really hard. One thing I believe is that the next president is likely to be Ron DeSantis and not Donald Trump.
You.
I kind of think the Democrats have sort of blown their chance here. I mean, they're just too weak,
Who the hell are we going to run? I mean, we
were talking about that the other day, and it was really hard to figure out anybody. Right. And I kept coming back to like celebrities.
Oprah.
I would like to see. No, not Oprah. No, Lady Gaga. I absolutely think Lady Gaga should run.
That would work.
I would definitely vote for her.
Oh no, Rhoda.
Yeah, other.
Actually, Amy Klobuchar would make a great president. I kind of think that's a long shot, but Amy Klobuchar is great. She's really good. Why are you laughing? She is.
Let's bring back Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was
Rhoda.
I said Rhoda.
Oh.
Okay.
Rhoda and Brenda. Sorry, it's a girl thing, I guess. No, I don't know about Amy. I mean, maybe she'll run. I don't
think she can be elected. I'm just saying that I think she would make a great president if she could get elected. I don't think she can get elected. I don't know who can get elected. Who do you think could get elected?
It's like Hunter was saying today. It's like, could we please stop electing these old fucking people?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's for sure. You don't want another like geriatric president.
No,
right.
We can't do that anymore. 60.
And I was telling her, I think we might have to, I just keep still hoping, hoping in the power of the younglings, right? Because I was reading an article today about a gal from one of those families, like the Duggars. They're from that Quiverful.
Oh yeah.
Nut job. Let's squirt out millions of kids for the glorification of God or whatever the hell they're into. This young woman, she got out from under the family and is now writing about it. And there's more and more of these kids. It's one of my passions is to find stories from kids from like the Reformed Church, or not the Reformed, the Church of Jesus Christ, the ones in Hurricane, Utah, and all these like religious crazies where like over and over again the elders are pedophiles, and these young women are. It's all the same. Anyway, these kids are escaping, and their worldview is like, oh my God. Like this gal was saying, she came out like this year, and like, imagine trying to come out in that family and everything. But I think that, I'm hoping that some of this crazy religious indoctrination will backfire, and it'll do the reaction the other way, like taking these kids who they have an understanding of that world because they have one foot in their life, the life they want to have, and having grown up in that. So I feel it's a way that maybe there's some kind of antidote in that to this poison. Like, I don't know, I'm babbling here, but I just have this hope.
I know that the Republicans are really looking into having state and national school patriotic schooling. That's what they've been talking about. And, they're banning stuff that they're not even teaching. So
exactly.
I'm a little nervous is what we're going
preemptive education there.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine? I don't know if you saw this, but those teachers, maybe we talked about this, on the floor grabbing for dollars in the middle of all the students. Did you guys see this? They're literally on their knees, and they kind of pipe in these dollars, and they're floating everywhere, and there's a fan, and these teachers, these educators are on their knees grabbing for dollars so that they could use those to go buy school supplies for their students.
What the hell?
That's the truth. Yeah, my sister was a elementary teacher for 40 years. She just recently retired, and she spent a fortune on school supplies because they were willing to give them everything
Degradation.
they need. So yeah, I have a lot of friends that are teachers, and they all had to do it. First thing they did in the beginning of school year is go out and buy supplies because they know the school district won't do it because they're too busy, giving.
Yes, but then making them get on the ground, like bore on the floor, and try to make
everything you need to know, right?
I mean, would we do that to our cops?
Well, it looks like we've reached the end there.
We have reached the end of the internet.
But we have so much more to complain about.
Well, we can complain more next week.
Yep. Same times, same bat channel, same bat.
Right on. We will see y'all next week.
Later.
Is Michael going to be here next week? Michael Notar Thomas?
Isn't that
or is that the week after?
I think that's the third. I can't remember.
I don't know. We'll look at the calendar. We'll figure it out.
Days we'll get it together.
All of our thousands of viewers will be back next week, though, and that'll be great.
The crowd, she rushed forward.
Right on.